was there any part of you feeling like, oh, I'm going to help them and their relationship? Did you ever feel like, oh, I'm here to kind of help these two people further their bond?
I didn't know what was going to happen when they walked in the room together. None of us did. You know, they agreed to be there. And what I found out pretty quickly was that I was the outsider.
Yeah.
You know, I thought maybe I would have to play peacemaker. And it turns out they teamed up against me.
I think you're making a little more of this than really what it was. I really do. I'm at 75 years old. I'm not worried about what happened 10 or 11 or 12 years ago.
And I love that you kept a lot of those moments in there. I mean, it seems like a kind of a bond between the two of them. And frankly, I think a way that a lot of men bond together, they kind of like rag on something together. And sometimes that's you.
You could tell that they were at their best and at their most comfortable when they were bonded together against a common opponent. And in this interview, there were times, not many, but there were times when I was that opponent. I didn't have to worry about bonding them together. I had to worry about cracking the facade and getting in the relationship. And we set it up actually to try to really replicate that. You know, we really wanted to put the audience at the table with them. We had no idea that we were going to utilize a split screen effect. We were switching between angles, and we just kept saying, oh, that close-up of Belichick is great when he's just listening to Parcells. And then we would look at Parcells when he was listening to Belichick and go, oh, that's great when he's just listening. And so I just started thinking, you know what, why don't we just keep both of them up? And we started doing research, and what really sold it for me, believe it or not, was some of the comedies of the 1950s. Huh. So the motion picture production code back then, it was illegal to show men and women in bed together. So in movies like Indiscreet, which was 1958 with Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman, they would be on the phone together in different beds, visually laying next to each other talking. And as soon as I saw that, I said, that's what we're doing here. You know, you can't get Bill Belichick and you're not going to have them hug and sit next to each other and cuddle, but they have this sort of bond, and putting them in a split screen, close up and close up, allows you as a viewer to look at each of them, no matter who is talking, and share in that intimacy.
So what would have happened if you showed up for this interview with a bed?
I think the interview wouldn't have happened.
Yes. So there's this moment early in the film. I don't know if it's you or someone else who's interviewing Belichick as he's driving into Giant Stadium and says, how would you sum up this relationship? And he says,
you know, friend, mentor, competitor.
Yeah, well, that moment is, I think, one of several in the film where you really see the true thought process of one of these coaches, because he sort of pauses as if he doesn't know what to say next, and I offer up
enemy.
And, you know, I sort of wanted to put it out there and say, was he at one time your enemy? And you can see him thinking. You can see him calculating the entire history of their relationship before he just said,
competitor, yeah.
Yeah, competitor, which is his way of saying, I'm going to not acknowledge the fact that you asked me if he was my enemy and reiterate the word I chose very purposefully, competitor. And the way I've sort of looked at these two men after doing this film is that it's not that different than the relationship with coworkers that all of us have. Think of your closest coworker. You're probably really friendly. You've probably spent more time with that person than you've spent with a lot of your, quote, friends in real life. Is there some sort of rivalry there because you're both at the same level at work and you push each other? Most likely. And that's the relationship they have. And I think it's a very natural relationship. And there was some unspoken things said.
Yeah.
Just in their body language, just in the way they said things to each other, that I don't know if everyone will pick up on it, but it wasn't necessarily the words. It was the way they looked at each other that it just made you know everything's all right. And we're as good as we've ever been and as good as we're ever going to be. What about love?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. There's certainly a strong feeling on my part.
Have you told each other you love each other?
Oh, I don't know.
How about that?
I'm not kissing them goodbye, I'll tell you that.
Must be really sentimental for you when you come back to Giants, you know?
This is a blood kinship.
Yeah.
Ken Rogers of NFL Films is the director of the new 30 for 30, The Two Bills. You can find it in iTunes and in the ESPN app. We've included a link to that in the show description. Just click and you can start watching right now. If you're listening to us for the first time and haven't heard our first run of original audio documentaries, you can find all 9 of them in the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts. This episode was produced by Andrew Parsons with help from Ryan Nantel and Vin DeAnton. We had additional production support from Aaron Leiden, Jenna Anthony, Jennifer Thorpe, Tony Chow, and Terry Mader. My name is Jody Avergan. Thanks for listening. We'll be back in the coming weeks with more 30 for 30. Jody Avergan here. Thank you to the talented team that produced this 30 for 30 podcast, part of an amazing collection of sports stories that need to be heard to be believed. And hey, you can do that right now. When you fly Delta Airlines, enjoy free mobile messaging by using iMessage, WhatsApp, and Facebook Messenger. Simply log into the in-flight Wi-Fi and spread the word. Delta is committed to helping you stay connected when you get in the clouds.